Hello guys, how are you doing? Let me trust you're doing good wherever you are. Today we have this laptop to fix. The problem with this laptop, the customer say it is not taking any power. This is a 30G6. We have two 830G6. We have the normal one like this one, and then we have the X360. The X360 motherboard is a small horn here, and then there's also another extension from this below here. But this one, as you can see, this one only have one extension here for the USB port. So this is a 30G6. We normally call it the normal a 30G6, but we also have a 30X360. So I think the best way for us right now is to do what's called the physical inspection, and that is the first step. Always, the laptop has been already opened the back lid. This is not me who opened the back lid, because it is coming from the computer shop. So probably they started opening the back lid, they removed the SSD, removed the RAM, and then because it needed attention to do with the motherboard, that is why it was sent to me. So the best way to approach this is say the first thing we need to do is to disconnect the battery. So the battery disconnected, I believe that is the only mistake they never did, because you have to disconnect the battery no matter what. Always, I normally say, if you are able to remove the back lid and you want the laptop to remain the way it is, make sure you disconnect the battery. The first thing you do after you remove the back lid is to disconnect the battery. I believe it was a bit risky because, as you can see, if the customer never removed this battery and then they went ahead to remove the RAM, to remove the SSD, it was risky because, in case during the SSD removal, for example, this is an SSD RAM stick. So, in case during the removal of this, and then let's say it was not coming out easily, that the guy who was removing it tried to twist it this way, that way, probably it could cause the short, and a very dangerous shot, because that shot from these connectors, especially the RAM and SSD, is normally sent directly to the CPU. And it's very dangerous one, because once the shot enters into the CPU, there is no shortcut for that. There is no shortcut for that, because it will short the CPU, and that is the end of it. The brain of your laptop is gone, and there's nothing you could do about it. So let us go directly and see physical inspection of the motherboard. We see whether we have any sign of corrosion, any sign of blown up component, anything fishy. We will make it our suspect. So right now, I can't see anything which seems to be fishy. However, I can see some small marks here at this screw, though that is not the main concern, because what we want to see is anything physical, anything unusual on the motherboard. And right now, I can't see any sign of spillage on the motherboard, even though there's this small corrosion on this screw, but I don't think that's a major problem. There's a capacitor here which seems to be having a small hole on top of it. I don't know whether you can see. Can you see here? There's something dotted on top. I don't know what is it. I don't know what the hell is that. So also, okay. I don't think it is anything. Yeah, there's nothing. I can't see anything. I can't see anything. Then from there, before we plug in, because we must plug in the power and then see the voltages. We test the voltage. We normally call it we trace the voltage flow within the motherboard. But before we reach there, because we are not able to plug in the jazzer, because we don't know what is wrong with this motherboard, it will be best for us first to measure whether we have any short to the ground in the power lines. Once we confirm there is no short to the ground in the power lines, it will be now safe for us to plug in the charger. And how do we get to the power line? How do you identify the main power line? It is very easy. Once you understand the architecture of the motherboard, it is very easy for you to identify the main power line, because you understand each and every components. You understand the circuits. You know the components which are responsible for power. You know the inductors which are responsible for power, and it will be very easy for you to know the main power lines and the secondary power lines. So out of my experience, I know the main power line is being generated from this big inductor. So out of my experience, I know the main power lanes are being generated from this big inductor here. So this is the inductor which normally generates the main power lane. And here we have the power IC or the charging IC. This is Intersil 9241H. So this is Intersil 9241H, normally used with G6 motherboards, both 840 G5, G6 and 830 G6. Another motherboards like the 830 G4 and 830, 840 G8. So we want to see whether we have any short with these components first. I want us to check whether we have any shorts with these components. Make sure we have our meter in continuity mode. And then from there, we like to check this this MOSFET whether it's having a short. This is the low side MOSFET. It doesn't have the short. Then we have the high side MOSFET there. Doesn't have the short. The main power lane, I can't see whether we don't have any short there. Okay. Let us see the ground against the main power lane. The ground against the main power lane, there is no short. Huh? There is no short. So what is wrong now with this laptop? If we don't have the short in the main power lane, what is now the problem? Let's see the CPU resistance here. I have like 4 ohms, which is good. So the CPU resistance here I have 6 ohms, which is also good. And then from there, let's keep on testing this secondary power lanes. I believe this is the 3.3 power lane, which is good. And this is 1.8 line, which is also good. I believe this is the line for the RAM. So this is the RAM, very good. And then here, this other side, I have so this is the 5.0 LDO. 5.0 LDO, let us see the output. The 5.0 LDO is also good. Right now, out this capacitor, everything seems to be good. I could not see any physical damage, and I don't see any shorted component. We don't have any blown up component. The measurements also shows that this is perfect. Everything is good. Now I don't understand. I don't comprehend what is going on. I think because we've measured and then we found out that we don't have any short in the main power lanes or the secondary power lanes, it will be better for us right now to plug in the adapter and then measure the voltage, because we need to have the voltage because we need to see the voltage flow all the way from the main power lane, that is after being generated from the main power lane. Here we need the main power lane voltages, and then we'll have to measure whether we have the LDO voltage, that is 5.0. We'll have to see whether we have the voltages for the RAM, which is 1.2. We need to see whether we have the LDO 3.3 or the feedback 3.3. We have to confirm whether we have the 1.8 voltage. And then we need also to see whether we have the PCC core voltages, that is 0.8, 0.9, 1.1, 1.0, all those voltages which are needed by the CPU. Those are the most common and the most crucial voltages which are needed. Once we have those voltages, and then we find out that the laptop is still not able to power on or not able to take in power, now I don't know what will be the next issue. Normally, I don't always advise people to start focusing on the BIOS. There are some technicians, when they get a laptop which is not taking power or they don't have power, they always put the first option or the first solution they think is the BIOS. Because you find most of the people, once they receive a laptop which is a power issue, the first thing they do is to write the BIOS, even before knowing what exactly is going on with those motherboards or with that laptop. The first thing to do is to write the BIOS. Some of the best way to approach any issue in the laptops is first to get the information about the issue. Once you receive any laptop, if the customer comes into the laptop and that laptop has some issues. The first thing you need to know is to ask the customer what happens or what is wrong with the laptop, what really happened before the laptop dies, what went wrong. Once you have those info, it will be easier for you to do the diagnosis. But sometimes we get laptops from customers. We don't know actually what's going on. They only tell you, can you check the laptop? What is wrong with it? It is not powering on. I was just using it, then it went off. Or I was just using it last night, and then today in the morning, I tried to power it on, not powering anymore. And that is it. And those customers expect you to know what is going on with their laptops, and then they expect you also to fix their laptops. So sometimes we went through stuff like that. But the moment you get the enough information about the motherboards or about the laptops, it will be easier for you to fix that laptop. And at least you'll know what possible could be the issue. Somebody can tell you, I was using the laptop last night, and then today in the morning, I wake up, try to power on, it's not powering on. And bottom line, the customer knows exactly what he or she did. You find that the customer leaves the laptop charging overnight so that he wants to wake up in the morning when the laptop is fully charged. And you expect those customers to tell you that. No, no, they won't tell you that. I don't know what they fear. Sometimes people fear that they might tell you the truth and that you'll have to judge him or her more. No, guys, it doesn't work like that. The reason why we do ask what is wrong with your laptop is to give us the best approach. For us to know at least the diagnosis for this laptop is this one. It's like a doctor. That's why when you went to a doctor, the first thing a doctor can ask you, what is wrong? If you say you have an headache or you have a stomach ache, the first thing the doctor could ask. Right now, I'm calling the doctor customer. But anyway, you're the customer for that doctor, and he is your customer. So the doctor must ask you, what went wrong? What did you eat last night? What did you do? Where were you? Did you travel for the past few days? Because the reason why the doctor wants to have those info so that it will help the doctor to at least know what will possibly is the issue with you. Same case with the laptop technician. The reason why we do ask what really happened to the laptop is for us to have a bit of information what really went wrong with your laptop, right? Yes. So right now we've tested any power line, it doesn't have any issue. We've seen there is no any physical damage. So let us plug in the power and then we see for ourselves what actually is going on. When we plug in, and actually there is the white light blinking there. And actually the laptop is powering on. Can you can you hear that sound? That is the laptop asking for the RAM. Huh? The laptop is asking for the RAM. I don't understand because this laptop came in with the issue of no power. I swear to God. But the laptop is powering on. Or my magic work, sometimes the magic of a technician. So the laptop was asking for the RAM. That beeping sound, it is called the error code for memory. When the laptop is having an issue with the memory, that's actually the sound which you expect. Can you hear? Too long, very short. Yes, going that way. That is the memory issue. So when the laptop doesn't have the memory, when the laptop does not have the memory, or when the laptop have a faulty memory, or when a laptop have a faulty RAM slot, the RAM slot is the socket for the RAM. Those are the things you expect to have. Sometimes when you hear that with your laptop, just know that you have an issue to do with the memory. If the memory is not the issue, maybe the RAM slot is the issue. If the RAM slot is not the issue, it could also be the BIOS problem because the BIOS, we expect the BIOS to give the communication about the presence of the RAM, of the memory or the SSD. So sometimes you find that the laptop after error code because the BIOS is corrupted. That's why it's not able to identify the presence of the RAM. So because the laptop is asking for the RAM, let's give it RAM and see whether we have the display. The laptop is powering on, or the laptop is just charging. So right now I have inserted the RAM into the RAM socket, plug in the charger, and the laptop is powering on. You see, no more sound, no more error code for the RAM. I can feel the CPU is warm. Here is the CPU warm. The fan spinning. Can you see the fan spinning? Yes, so this is the RAM inserted. Sometimes you find maybe there's two RAM slots and this one is faulty one. You have to remove the RAM and put into the other slot and then the laptop might power on. If you have the two RAMs in the two slots, you just remove this RAM, power on the laptop with one RAM. If it doesn't work, remove this, power on the laptop with this one. If it doesn't work, remove this, take the RAM which was here, put the other side, power on. If it doesn't work, take the RAM which was here and then put it the other side. It is called the elimination method. You're trying to eliminate the possibility of one RAM being an issue with the other. Since we disconnected the battery, we disconnected the power for this laptop, it is taking time a little bit before it displays. So right now it is restarting for the second time. Probably it should be that way. That is the normal powering. Once you disconnect the battery, disconnected the CMOS, the laptop must restart at least twice. And then we have the display. Can you see? Yes, there is the display. Boom. I believe I know the problem with this laptop was it's called the what? The frozen BIOS. It's called the frozen BIOS. Sometimes the laptop just needs you to reset the BIOS. You remove all the power supply, the battery, the charger, and then let the laptop relax. Let the motherboard relax. Then put them back. The power supplies, put them back, both the battery and the charger. Or you start with the charger alone. Then the laptop powers on, and then the issue is fixed. Even if the issue was not about the frozen BIOS, right now my magic works. So I'll have to be paid with this magic. Bring your laptop for me to touch them. This is the spirit of technician. Yeah, sometimes you when the laptop reaches here, it only powers on by themselves. And I get paid for that. Once I touch your laptop and it powers on, you have to pay me for that. Because why it's not for me? You see, we have HP short. This was the BIOS issue. That HP short start, that is about the BIOS, and then again, because it doesn't have the SSD, I am going to first before I boot in the SSD, before I boot in the SSD, I think I have my SSD here, which I'll be using it to test for this because I want to see that it is booting into the Windows, and I want to check that it is what it is having the network and it is having everything which is needed. As I was saying, when you bring your laptop to me and then I happen to touch your laptop and then it powers on, even if I didn't repair anything, you will pay me for that because if you don't pay, you will go home, the laptop will die again, and you will come back and I touch again. Yeah, you will keep coming back. Okay, I am not I am not saying anything, but it is live though. But anyway, this laptop is good. This laptop is working right now. And there's something I want us to test before we close up this, before we test with SSD. Let us insert the battery. The battery is inserted. I want to see whether the laptop is charging, plugged in, or maybe the issue with this was charging. I can't see the LED light. I can't see the LED light, but the laptop is on. So let us measure. I'd like us to measure the voltages for the battery, whether it is rising up, because I can see the laptop is not charging. Maybe it's what is the other issue why this laptop is not functional. So the main power line is 13.15. What about the battery? I want us to check the voltages for the battery. 12.35. I believe the laptop is fully charged. Is it 12.35? And what is the max voltage for this battery? It has how many cells? One, two, three. Three cells. And normally the cells will have four voltages. So let us see what are the maximum. The maximum voltage is approximately 11.55 here. It's written here 11.55. But with us here, we have 12.36. And in fact, you can see 12.36. So it means the battery is fully charged. So let me have the SSD installed, and then I like us to boot into the Windows. Then we check for ourselves whether the battery is indeed fully charged. We checked whether the battery is indeed fully charged, and then from there we call it the business. We save this laptop. So insert the battery, power on. The laptop is powering on. I like us to boot into the Windows. We check the battery percentage whether it is fully charged. If it is fully charged, that is it. The laptop is fixed. Secure boot configuration. Probably it could be the boot order is set to something else. Maybe it is set to legacy or UFI. The boot order is the problem. So let us change the boot order. We are here in the BIOS setup menu. Once you're here, we have to select the boot advanced. Under our advanced option, we need the boot order. There, you can see the UFI is not ticked. You can see it is inactive. So we'll have to go back and then to check the secure boot configuration. We need to enable the legacy secure boot disabled. Yes, we need where we have legacy support enabled, and then to the other one, the secure boot should be disabled. Once we confirm that, we need to save the settings and then see whether we are able to boot the system. It should boot into the OS. Nevertheless, we have other issues, which I don't think we have. Because we changed the boot order, let us have to authorize this 1618, 1618, and then enter. Changes made. Please boot into the operating system. Yes, and it is booting. You can see it is loading the Windows. That is what you should do. In case you have a laptop not booting into the operating system, you have to change the boot order. And if you're not able to change the boot order, you have to disable. You have to disable the secure boot configuration, and then from there you'll be able to change the boot order into the order you need. Oh, you see, I told you we had an issue to do with the BIOS. Right now, the system is updating the BIOS, and actually the charging light is white. That tells you the laptop is fully charged. So let us wait for it to finish updating the BIOS, and then we do what? And then we call it. And then we confirm the charging, and then sometimes this BIOS update will take some time. And during this update, still you're not supposed to disconnect any power. You're not supposed to shut it down. Because once you interrupt this update, you'll have to start now manually because the laptop will not be able to power on. So you need to do what? You will need to program the BIOS externally. That is to remove the BIOS chip and then program it elsewhere with a programmer. You will not be able to access the powering on machine, but you'll have to program the BIOS from somewhere else and then you solder it back into the motherboard. Sometimes you find this update follows some steps. You have this updating BIOS, then from here you'll have Thunderbolt update. From there you'll have this update, and you need to wait for all of them. You see, we finished the one. We are now updating the Intel management firmware. Then from there, once this one is finished, we also have to update something else too, until we arrive at a place where it is telling you updating a final step update. And then from there, once you update the final, the laptop will restart, and then to what? And then you will be able to access the Windows. So I believe the issue with this laptop was the BIOS issue. That's why you see once the laptop powers on, it is now started what? Doing the update. Because this laptop collapsed, the BIOS crashed. You're almost there. And right now we are at final step. You can see it is written there. Final step of BIOS update in progress. And do not turn off or remove the power from the system. Once you interrupt these procedures, that is it. You'll have to start from zero. Right now it is restarting, and after restarting, it shall not update anything. It shall just load into the Windows. The laptop is properly fixed. Looking for the SSD, and actually you can see it is loading the Windows. So the laptop is fixed. So let us see whether the charger is the battery is enough. There is enough charging. The Windows is there, and actually you can see the battery is. And actually you can see the battery is fully charged. Huh? The battery is fully charged. Can you see? Let us see percentage. 100%. You see, the battery is 100%. So thank you so much, guys, for being patient. Thank you so much for watching this video until the end. I really appreciate you. And in case if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please, guys, I'm still requesting you please subscribe, share with your friends, give us some comments. And if you're interested in learning about laptop repairs, we also welcome the students who wants to learn online or physical. However, right now the physical class is fully, so you're taking the online class. So if you're interested, you can send me your details, and then we're gonna discuss the way forward. Thank you so much, guys. Please do not forget to subscribe, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.